there, welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Kiri and I'm a flower farmer here in Western Washington in Zone 8A. And this morning we have a few things to take care of. So first things first, I want to give you an update on how the hardy annuals are doing. So I planted out my hardy annuals that I started inside on February 18th. And I did that right before we got a pretty intense cold snap. So it got down to 20 degrees for a couple days right after I planted them out, so I want to show you how they are doing. I also direct seeded some hardy annuals, so we'll check on those to see how they are doing. And then I'll give you an update on how my tulips and daffodils are doing, because some of them are popping, so that's very exciting. The other thing I want to talk to you about is foliar feeding. Foliar, you know, fertilizing on the leaves. So let's go take a look. So here are the snapdragons. They look pretty good. They had a lot of frost damage when I checked them right after we got those 20-degree temperatures, and all of the leaves are totally fine. I am noticing some slug damage. You can see that there. Here's some more. Yeah, overall they look okay. Some of them are kind of accidentally getting crushed by the fabric, so I gotta watch on that. All right, right next to it we've got the Rudbeckia, and I think they're looking great. And there's, again, let's see, some slug damage, but overall they're looking okay. They're surviving the cold just fine. Next up, I only have a couple plants of straw flower that made it out, and they look really awesome. They've grown quite a few leaves since I have transplanted them. This one here, though, victim of the slugs. Yeah. Next up is the Scabiosa, and it's really looking awesome. It's grown quite a bit since I transplanted it, and I think it's surviving the cold just fine. This one is a little bit more sensitive to cold, and yeah, looks great. Next up is Cynoglossum, and Cynoglossum is pretty frost sensitive, I would say, out of all of these plants that I've planted out. So after the frost, it did get quite a bit of damage, and some of these leaves have died back. But it has recovered nicely. But that is definitely one you want to keep covered if you're going to have a cold snap. And then the last one here is Yarrow, and it is looking pretty awesome. Let's see. Also put on quite a bit of growth, and I have had a couple, look, here we go. A couple have disappeared, been eaten down to little nubs. This one's like almost totally gone. Slugs again, so we'll take care of that here in a second. And you might also see here I've got Buttercup that is coming through, so I've just been pulling the leaves out as I see that. So yeah, overall pretty good. Next up, let's take a look at the sweet peas. So they did suffer some damage. Here's an example of that. I would say that this was because of the water, though. This didn't really seem to be an issue until we had a week of straight rain every day, and then these leaves started to get a little bit beat up. But the cold itself, they were totally fine. Here's the Dara, and it looks okay as well. It's put on a little bit of new growth, but it has become a victim of slugs. I came out here the other day. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, the plant was just gnawed off at the base, so that was kind of sad. But yeah, overall I think it looks pretty good. I'm missing a couple of plants to the slugs, but oh yeah, here, look, you can see somebody was trying to eat that. Here's the calendula. It looks okay as well. Some of the leaves are getting a little smashed from the cloth, but overall I think it looks okay. They're also yellowing a little bit, so I definitely need to get on fertilizing. The final transplant is Feverfew, and it's doing pretty good as well. It has been again, eaten up by the slugs a little bit. So we will take care of that today. So that's it for all of the transplanted plants. Now let's take a look at what has been direct seeded. So here's where I sowed the poppies, and I think I am seeing some germination. Let's look. There's something. There's something. So that looks promising. Oh yeah. But my seeds are definitely going to have to compete with the creeping buttercup that's coming up throughout here. Next to the poppies is the nigella, and I'm not seeing any germination yet. Well, oh, spoke too soon? Maybe. But essentially minimal germination. Next to nigella we have baby's breath, and I'm not really seeing any germination here as well, except for maybe this one here. So here's the blue plurum section, and I'm seeing maybe some germination, but not much. Let's take a look at the bells. Not really seeing any germination here as well. I also impulsively bought some larkspur, but I'm not really seeing any germination on this because this was planted really recently. I'm a little anxious that what I'm showing you is probably just weed seeds germinating, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then here again, this is that buttercup that is just loving its life. If only this was the beautiful ranunculus that I want to grow. So I have a compost thermometer here, and I'm just going to stick this in to see how it looks. So at 2 inches, it looks like it's about 50 degrees. I'm going to stick it in a little deeper here. And it just dropped maybe a degree or two. So that's pretty good, and that's also consistent with what I'm seeing from the University Extension Office data. So my local university office tracks the soil temperature for all of the counties in the state, and it's been saying it's averaging about 46 degrees at 8 inches deep, so makes sense. So generally speaking, most of the seeds that were direct sown take about 14 days to 21 days to germinate at around 60 to 65 degree Fahrenheit soil. So I've been keeping them covered and they get direct sunlight, so it may just be a little bit longer until we see some shoots. Next, let's talk about foliar fertilizing. So in short, there are 2 ways to fertilize plants. You can spread amendments into the soil, or you can do a foliar application to the leaves. Just like anything in the world, there are pros and cons to both approaches. So fertilizing the soil is great, but it is a little bit of a slower process. So it takes a while for plants to find the fertilizer, to take it up, and then to distribute it throughout the plant. But you know, it's great because you just amend the soil and you leave it and it's good to go. Foliar applications, the benefits are that it's a super quick way to get nutrients like directly into the plant. So it's really wonderful to give plants that boost that they need to get some leafy growth going and to get nice and strong. But there's a couple downsides, and it's things just to watch out for. But first, this can really hurt your plants because it is such a strong, intense way to get nutrients to them. Applying fertilizer in this way can burn the leaves, so something to keep an eye out, and that's why you want to do it in the morning when they're not in the sun. So I guess that's one benefit of having the afternoon sun on this patch. The second thing is that you don't want to oversaturate this. So err on the side of over diluting instead of under diluting this. And this is a really great way to help plants that are diseased or struggling to get the nutrients they need to recover. So some of these plants have had some pest damage, and then they've also struggled with frost damage. So giving them this foliar application of fertilizer should help them recover nicely. So here I have a liquid fish fertilizer, which is a really common fertilizer for foliar applications. And yeah, check it out. Smells delicious. So for me, in my pump sprayer here, this is 1 gallon, so I need 2 tablespoons of this delicious fish paste mixed in with 1 gallon of water. So we just want to pump up this, get some pressure in here, and then you just spritz it on the leaves. It's that simple. So from now moving forward, I am going to be doing this weekly to all of my plants so that they get a nice healthy dose of some nutrients. And I'm definitely trying to avoid spraying the weeds. Don't want them to be healthy. Darn creeping buttercup. The other great thing about this fertilizer method here where I live is that it really gives a direct shot of nitrogen to my plants, and we get so much rain here, especially in winter and early spring. Just giving them this nice shot of nitrogen really is going to help them get a little bit more robust. Alright, let's head on over to the tulips and I'll show you how those are doing. So I'm having some interesting things going on with my tulips. So these are Novi Sun. They are a mid-season bloomer and they are just taking off. And I've got my Prince mix over there that's the early bloomer, and they're not even close to this tall. Let's go take a look. So check it out. This is the early Prince mix. It's supposed to be the earliest bloomer, and this is the double pink, which is the late bloomer. And they are pretty close to the same progress, so I think it may be because this is in some shade, and if that's the case, that is very interesting and something to note for next year, to be able to have certain varieties bloom a little closer together even if they aren't supposed to do that, by controlling the amount of sunshine that they get. So I'm making a mental note for that next year. Here are my anemones. I have kept these completely uncovered this entire time and they are doing fantastic. No frost damage or anything. And then here are my plum parrot mix tulips that are the latest bloomers. And then the Tucano here is coming along nicely, so I am getting excited. Let's go check out the daffodils. So these are the Tizeta Essentials mixed daffodils, which are the multi-bloom varieties, and they're coming along very nicely. I did actually harvest one the other day, so it's coming. The one thing that's making me a little bit sad though is I'm getting a lot of slug damage on these. You can see here. And I typically don't get too much slug damage on my daffodils, so it just must be this variety. But let's take care of that. 1 second. Slugs are my #1 pest in my garden, so this is what I've been using for years and it works great. The only thing that kind of sucks is that when we get heavy rains, it tends to dissipate pretty quickly. So it's really simple. All I do is just sprinkle it along. It's pretty cost effective and it covers quite a bit of area, so I think I'll continue using it this season. And it is safe for people or pets to enter right after you apply it, so I feel confident that this is generally okay to use. I'm going to spread that slug bait all over in the main beds and around here. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like this video. Thanks, see you next time.